It's never who you know. It's always who knows you.
Sure, bad coffee.
What makes the race? We've all heard it and it's true. But what does it mean? More importantly, how can it help you to be a sharper player? Pace points. That's how. When dealing with pace in horse racing, you have to understand it affects races at every level, class, and distance. Not always how we think it will, but the impact is still there just the same. Knowing who is likely to be running fastest at the start and who is likely to be finishing fastest nearing the finish, that last quarter mile is the most valuable wagering asset. Pace Points does this extremely accurately, utilizing fractional times of individual horses, post position, track condition, ground loss, and other intangibles like rider tendencies. Pace Points lets you know at a glance two key factors: who is likely to be fastest early and who is likely to be fastest late. We've all seen races where it looks like there's a ton of speed, and then one horse clears the field, often going wire to wire. How about the turf races that look like there is no speed? Somebody is going to set that pace. We know they will. We've seen it before. Have you ever had one of those head scratches where the pace is slow, even dawdling, and here comes a closer running past them all late? Pace Points will help you navigate these pace scenarios and more. The races that show you one horse with 1-1-1 front running lines and a horse with 3-3-3 stalking running lines throughout the fractions of the race, and the horse with the threes that looks like the stalker is on the lead. Pace Points will help you sharpen your game, recognize these things in advance, and recognize great setups. Pace does make the race, and Pace Points will help you understand the dynamics of the pace and the race. If you watch Past the Wire TV and read Past the Wire, you have heard me say the numbers don't lie. They don't. That is why Pace Points starts with the individual fractions of each horse and goes from there, where the best eyes, angles, and experience in the game factors in post, trip, ground loss, jockey, and more. An invaluable tool for any arsenal. We'll put this crucial info at your fingertips in an easy to read, recognize, and more importantly, utilize fashion. I like to say simplicity is the essence of intelligence. And although Pace Points is on a pretty high level, we made it very easy to understand and easier to utilize. You're going to see a list of the horses in each race, two columns next to the horses. The first column is going to give you a number. The lower the number, the faster the horse is early. And by early, we mean primarily the first quarter of any given race. Second column is going to give you a number. The lower that number, the faster the horse is late, nearing the finish, and primarily the last quarter mile of any given race. So you'll be looking at a list of the horses in the race, two numbers, an early number and a late number, based on all the factors we discussed before. Pace Points, easy to use, easy to understand, and the longer you use it, the better grasp you will have on pace, making the race, and how it's going to affect the outcome.
To learn more about Pace Points or to try it out, visit pastthewire.com or watch Past the Wire TV. We think you'll be glad you did.
Are they talking about us? Shh. Wait. Are they talking about us? I think I heard Past the Wire. Past the Wire TV. They are talking about us. Often imitated, never duplicated. We are everywhere.
Seriously? If you're betting horses and not watching these shows, you gotta be freaking crazy. Capiche?
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Ciao a tutti. I hope everybody is well. Thank you for tuning in to Pass the Wire and what turned out to be a little bit of a different type of show than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was simply going to be the Iroquois Stakes by the Thorograph Numbers and Patents. Then I started thinking it's the first Kentucky Derby points race for 2026. Then I started looking at the horses, and there was a horse that I found interesting. And I said, you know what? What the heck? It's our show. We can do whatever we want with it. We could talk about whatever we want with it. So I said, you know what? We're going to combine it and make it the Iroquois by the Douglas Numbers and Patents. And we are also going to call it Kentucky Derby Radar 1 because if you're a fan of this great game of horse racing, and if you're here with me right now, you probably are. Otherwise, I can't imagine why you would be here. But if you are, then it's never too early to start talking about the Kentucky Derby. And, you know, we've seen some things. You know, Saratoga's in the books. Del Mar's in the books. I don't know that we saw anything Kentucky Derby related at Kentucky Downs, but you never know. So, you know, I thought, why not? We'll just combine it. It won't take that long. There's not a lot to talk about. You know, the obvious one that comes to mind before we get to the horse that just caught my eye in the Iroquois, the obvious one that come to mind is Brant, who just, you know, so far looks like he might be worth the $3 million that they paid for him. And that's saying something. This just, you know, this is an animal that's got racehorse written all over him. And he's certainly in the right hands to head to Louisville on the first Saturday in May. He's probably on the top of a lot of early Derby lists. And that's probably for good reason at this point, because we haven't seen anything really yet that's what I would say more impressive and more indicative of a potential Derby horse. So, you know, Brant, he's the first one that's on the list, and we'll see. Now, last year, the first two that were on the list were Sovereignty and Journalism, and we know how that turned out. So we'll see what happens. And there is a horse in the Iroquois that's a little bit more interesting and a little bit more creative than Brant. So let's not say, oh, well, everybody knows about Brant. And that's true. Everybody does know about Brant. But, you know, he certainly looks the goods. You know, at Saratoga, I saw some really nice 2-year-olds as we all did. Did I see anybody that looked like, you know, they were a two-turn Kentucky Derby developing type of horse? Nobody that really jumps out at this point at me. But I'm going to go back and look at some of the charts and watch some of the replays and maybe change my mind. But, you know, I did see a lot of horses I thought were really nice horses. But for the Derby, I look for, you know, different kinds of things, which I've discussed. There's either a show. Yeah, I believe it's a show that I did. You know what I look for early in a Derby horse. So if you're interested, you could always go back and look at that, as opposed to being redundant here and going over it. So the Iroquois, mile, Churchill Downs, 1 turn, and the first Kentucky Derby points race for 2026. Not a race that screams, you know, Kentucky Derby prospects, but there was a horse this year that kind of caught my eye. And I didn't even think that he necessarily caught my eye to win this race, although he certainly could. But he looked like, you know, this is the kind of horse I want to watch and see how he develops. Maybe he's going to make some noise come the first Saturday in May. And how he runs Saturday will be a clue into whether or not that's accurate. And one of the things I like best about the Iroquois and all the 2-year-old Derby prep and 2 to 3-year-old campaign races at Churchill Downs is that ever so valuable race over the track. Sovereignty had it last year, capitalized on it, built on it, and it's something that I do put a lot of weight into. It's nice to go in knowing that your horse likes that racetrack and has some experience over it, especially for shippers who are shipping in and not stabled there, because they come in a couple of weeks before the Derby, you train over it, but having already been there, in my opinion, is better than not having been there. So, excuse me. So there's that. All right, we'll get right into these Thorograph numbers and patterns, see what they tell us now. These races, obviously, there is not a lot to go by. You got to have horses that ran 1 or 2 times. But in these kind of races, I think the Thorograph numbers, and I'm not going to say patterns because we really don't have patterns. We're really more looking at numbers here. Although patterns could start to show hints of developing, but we're looking at primarily numbers. And, it's nice to know who ran faster and who ran slower than who. So let's start from the rail, who we have a horse named Nothing Personal. I love when people tell you it's not personal when it is, strictly business when it is personal. Sometimes it doesn't get more personal than when they tell you it's just business, but sometimes it is just business. But that aside, Nothing Personal. In this case, it's not personal. It's just business. We know that. He ran 1 time, Colonial Downs in August, runs an 8.5. It's a pretty fast number, first time out for 2-year-old. Now that track has been playing tricky fast. So maybe that's got a little something to do with it. But that's a fast race. He's got the rail, going a mile. Not the best place for a 2-year-old to be, especially one that's only had 1 start and is inexperienced. But that's a respectable number in this field of 2-year-olds. Next horse we got Showtime. Showtime, 27,000 Keeneland November sale. Also runs a Colonial twice, runs 11 1/4 and then a 14. I think we've got some regression there off the 11.5. I guess that could be expected for a 2-year-old like this, but he's considerably slower than the horse inside of him. And I don't see anything jumping out at me that says he's going to get any faster than him. Not yet, anyway. Ken McPeak, who we know is always dangerous, he's got one that ran 11 1/4 first time out, then regressed all the way back to a 20. So we got 2 horses that ran interestingly enough, the same number, 11 1/4, for stakes type horses. Not setting the world on fire with that. And both of them regressed. This one regressed more than the other one. And that's something that you'll see frequently with 2-year-olds. They run fast, takes a lot out of them, bangs a lot out of them, and they regress off that number. So special paired 15.5. Another one from McPeak. He runs in July, Ellis Park, 15.5. Comes back early August at Ellis Park, another 15.5. We like those paired numbers. We've talked about them a lot. I would project a forward type of move from So Special, but you're looking at a horse that ran an 8 and change, and this one's going to have to go forward considerably to get anywhere close to that one. All right, here we got a horse from Steve Asmussen, which is kind of developing a little bit of a pattern. He debuts early in May at Churchill Downs, 15. Regresses a little bit, 16 3/4. jumps up to a 10 at Ellis Park, and now comes back to Churchill, where he's got 2 races experience. Is he going to regress off that 10? I think not. I think he's probably going to go forward off of it. I think he'll like getting back to Churchill Downs. I think that he's got those 2 races at Churchill in the tank, then that faster race at Ellis. I think he's just kind of coming around, and his pattern tells me he's just kind of coming around and learning what the game is all about, learning what running is all about. So I tend to think he's going to go forward, and he doesn't have to go forward a lot to get close to that 8, or even go past that 8 that the horse on the rail has. Now we got Keith DeSormo with a horse named Shake and Rattle that's been running a little bit more than the others. This one's got 5 starts already. Not setting the world on fire. Looks a little slow for these. 23, 15 and a half, 18, 15 and a half, 20. Should be a long shot. Looks a little slow. Nothing in the pattern says a move forward enough is coming to be contentious with these type of horses, as I see. Eddie Keneally has a horse named Comport. This horse might have the best pattern of anybody in the race. He's got 11 3/4, 7, then 7 3/4. So he kind of pairs those 7s. He does have 2 starts at Churchill Downs. He's got a 7 at Churchill Downs. The last race was 7 3/4 at Ellis Park. I see this one definitely going forward, and probably one of the horses to beat, if not the horse to beat. Nice pattern, drawn better than the horse on the rail, faster than the horse on the rail. I thought I didn't look at these numbers before the race. I thought the one on the rail was going to be the fastest one in here. He's not. Now we come to the horse that kind of caught my eye a little bit. And again, I'm not saying that he's going to jump up and win this race. I think he can. But he just looked like a horse that I had a feeling about potential development. The horse's name is Vast. William Walden is training the horse. He's an Instagram colt. Instagram is a horse that had a lot of potential. I think got hurt, really wasn't, healthy long enough to really develop the way he possibly could have. And this horse, started once at Ellis Park, win it, 12 and a half, not really fast, but I think he's going to go forward. I think there was more in the tank. I like his replay. I think he's going to like it as the distances get longer. And he's a horse, if there's anybody in here, maybe other than Eddie Keneally's horse, and maybe Ken McPeak's horse, but he's really the one that I'm looking at as a potential horse that's going to develop down the line. So we'll see if Vast is a serious racehorse and a serious player, as I suspect he might be. He's drawn outside. He should get a nice trip, should handle the mile, and I think he's going to go forward. Now, if Eddie Keneally's horse goes forward off those 7s to a 5 or 4 or something really fast like that, that might be asking Vast a little bit too much to do. But 2-year-olds going a mile, strange things happen. You never know. So this is definitely a horse that's on my very, 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 very early Kentucky Derby radar, just based on what I visually saw and what I see in his PPs and what my gut. Sometimes you got to just kind of trust your gut a little bit and see, how things pan out. 9 ball outside of him for Riley Mott, Bill Mott's son, another one with only 1 start, 14 and a half. I would expect he goes forward off to 14 and a half. But again, he would have a lot to do, even more to do than Vast, who's at 12. He would have to go, forward even more than him. Possible, yeah, but not something I would bank on or really expect. Maximus Prime for Anthony Mitchell, 14 and a half, way back in early May, off until late August at Ellis, and regresses 18 3/4. I don't like to see that with a 2-year-old. I don't like to see an early start, a fair not exciting number, but a fair number, time off, and then regress. Not wild about that. And he did have a start in a baby race at Keeneland prior to that, but he didn't get any number for that, so we don't know what he did, what he ran. And that'll sum up the field. So we'll recap. Maximus Prime looked slow. I'm going backwards. 9-ball looked like he was going to go faster, but not fast enough to be contentious, but did look like he'd go forward. Vast looked like he could be, on the improve and ran fast enough that if he does go forward, which I expect him to, can possibly get into contention. Comport, clearly the horse to beat, clearly a horse with a nice pattern going into this race at 11 3/4, 7 3/4 again, heading back to Churchill. Definitely one that's dangerous on Saturday. How much dangerous more than that going forward remains to be seen. He's a collected, kind of overachievers, in my opinion, but I don't know, how much of a Derby type he's going to turn out to be. I got my eye close on William Walden's horse Voss. Shake and Rattle to keep the Sawmill horse. I thought was a little too slow. Steve Asmussen's horse I thought was okay. Coming off that 10, going to go forward again. Has to go forward. To be in contention. Will he go more forward than Vost and forward enough to get into contention with the horse on the rail, which we'll talk about in a minute, Andy Keneally's horse? I think it's very possible. So he's one that I would say is live. He's a gun runner. We know they're runners. Gun runners are runners. No pun intended. So Special. That was the one from Ken McPeak that I liked better than the other one. He paired 15.5. But even going forward, I think he's got to go forward a little bit too much for my liking. The other Ken McPeak horse was 11 1/4 and then a 20. I didn't like that at all. Then we had Sometime, who ran 11 1/4 and then a 14. Didn't like that at all. Then we had Nothing Personal, who's got that fast 8.5 at Colonial Downs. Another dangerous one, and if he goes forward off that race, he's dangerous. He's got the rail, and I'm not wild about that, but, certainly on his number, respectable for sure. Maybe more than respectable in this race. And he's a violence colt, so he's got every right to go forward and handle the mile just fine. So there you have the first Kentucky Derby points race. I would say it is, once you do your serious handicapping, it's going to come down to either Nothing Personal, Spice Runner, Comport, or Vast. And, there's a lot of other factors to contend with and consider, but those were the ones that Thorograph told me were the faster horses moving in the right direction in this race. So there you have the first Kentucky Derby points race. We'll see how it pans out. And thank you all for tuning in to Kentucky Derby Radar, the Iroquois by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. We got a lot of really cool announcements coming up in the very near future that I think and hope you will all really like and appreciate. So a lot happening, and that's a good thing. We like when there's a lot happening. So with that, thank you all for tuning in to Pass the Wire TV. Have a lovely weekend. Make some money. And that's a wrap. Ciao for now.
Knowledge. It isn't free. You got to pay attention.
And ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the winner's circle for a very special presentation Representatives from Handicapping for Horses, along with professional handicapper Jonathan Stetton, are proud to support the work of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Accepting the check for the inaugural Handicapping for Horses event this past summer at Saratoga are representatives from the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Gulfstream Park welcomes Michael Blowen, Jonathan Stetton, Kelly Scobie, Jim Rhodes here this afternoon. Since 2012, the TAA has awarded more than $17.2 million to accredited organizations. Handicapping for Horses looks to make their Saratoga Springs event larger and raise money for Thoroughbreds Aftercare year after year. Once again, thank you to Handicapping for Horses, Jonathan Stetton, and welcome to Old Friends and our friends at the TAA. The Rainbow Six and race number 5 up next.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
Dynasty in motion, reshaping the sport's greatest tradition, channeling the legends of his line and surpassing them. 4 of the last 6 Derby winners carry his genes. A Golden Son, a Horse of the Year. Another chapter written beneath those iconic spires. Derby dreams fulfilled for the titans of our industry. From authentic to sovereignty, a legacy both real and supreme. Into mischief.
Everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Often imitated, never duplicated. If you ain't smooth, you ain't never gonna be a smooth operator.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
It's not a matter of getting down. How low can you go? Are they talking about us? Shh, wait. Are they talking about us? I think I heard Past the Wire. Past the Wire TV. They are talking about us. Often imitated, never duplicated. We are everywhere. Nobody does it better.